Alright, as per request, here's a video on Ed. I suppose getting right into it, first I'll talk about his normals and his neutral game. For the most part, Ed's buttons are pretty slow compared to a lot of other characters in the cast, especially considering the fact that they don't really reach that far. And he doesn't really have that many other tools to get in, so... mainly, Ed struggles from not being able to buffer in neutral, where most characters, say... If an opponent is throwing out, say, like a crouching medium kick like that, they would be able to hit the end of his foot, and then cancel it into a special move and get a knockdown, and then that's how they go from neutral to getting in the opponent's face and starting to open them up. However, Ed doesn't really have the ability to do that because none of his special moves will reach that far, so Ed can't buffer in neutral. So Ed can't do a crouching medium kick and then just input the psycho upper, which is pretty much his farthest reaching move that would actually yield any significant reward. So unfortunately, Ed only has to poke with his normals, and he won't be able to convert them into much of anything, which is one of his biggest downfalls. But he does have pretty decent normals, especially for anti-airing. In terms of anti-airs, he has crouching heavy punch, which is very reliable but has short range, and hits very high above his head, which is something that not a lot of characters even have access to. He has the 2 kicks input, which is fully invincible after a certain amount of time. However, it can be beaten out if you're just not quite fast enough. It's not as invincible as others. I forget the exact frames. I think it's somewhere around 4 or 5 frames startup to get to its invincibility. It might be faster than that, but it won't become immediately invincible. However, it is still pretty reliable. And you don't have to have any motions inputted for it. It's just two kicks. After that, he has standing medium kick is his farthest range anti-air. Once again, it's very reliable, and it does pretty good hitting above his head as well, although not as good as crouching hard punch if they're close. He has his crouching V skill, which is pretty slow and you have to be looking for it, but it grants a knockdown, and it's very good in terms of reward, and it builds you V gauge. And then he has his air-to-airs, so he can do a jumping medium punch, which will knock the opponent down, as opposed to all of his other buttons, which will just reset them. And he has standing medium punch, which will occasionally work. It works as a very, very close range anti-air, but it actually works quite reliably. Although it's usually a better option to go for crouching hard punch. Now back to Ed's ground game. And Ed's ground game is really determined by how much you definitely need to be able to anti-air the opponent, and Ed has really good anti-airs. They're fast and easy to react with. So he has that going for him, but you really need to keep your opponent out of the air if you're planning on getting Ed's ground game to work very well, because one thing that he can do better than most characters is that even though he can't play footsies as well as some other characters, he has a really good low-hitting jumping hard punch, and he has a fast jump, and he has really fast dashes as well that go very, very far. So he can move around the environment better. His backdash got nerfed, so it's not as good as it used to be, but his back walk speed is still pretty fine, so you can still rely on that, and then you can forward dash in. And his jumping heavy punch hits really quickly, and it's more difficult to react with an anti-air than it is against a lot of other jump-ins in the game. So, as for his neutral, his things that will actually allow him, his buttons, like I said, you can't buffer them into his specials to get knockdowns like most other characters can. So he has a difficult time getting in neutral because he can't just do that. But options that he does have that get knockdowns. His standing hard punch is a crush counter, which will grant a knockdown on counter hit. And the hard punch is a really good move. It has good range and good priority, so that's one of the best buttons to be going for in neutral. Spacing it about here or farther. You have his standing heavy kick, which will go over low attacks like this. Like so. So it completely ignores low attacks, and it also has crush counter properties, which will allow you to get combos afterwards. But the combos that you get depend on how far away you are when you do the crush counter. You definitely want to make sure you're spacing this move really well, though, because if you're doing it too close to the opponent, the move is -4 on block, which means that it is punishable on block if you're too close after you block. So when you do it at this distance, it'll always get punished. So it's unsafe to do. But the further out you are, the safer it gets, especially if it hits at a later frame. It can be -2. His crouching medium punch is also a good button, and his crouching medium kick and standing medium kicks are good buttons. Although his standing medium kick, the range is dependent on whether or not the opponent is standing or crouching, so it hits much farther if the opponent is standing. Which means that if the opponent is trying to move forward, like walk forward or forward dash, or is mainly hitting attacks that are standing, it's a really good button to go for. And lastly, for Ed's neutral game, he has his projectiles. And not only the projectile itself, so you can hit the forward medium punch to pull out the Psycho Spark, and then you can press it another punch button again at any point to throw the projectile, or just let it be, which gives you plenty of time to anti-air if the opponent's trying to jump over it. But not only is the projectile decent, for at about this range, you can throw it and then forward dash, and you'll be advantageous. So you can use it from about this range or farther to make contact with the opponent and give yourself a free forward dash if they block or get hit by it. So yeah, this is a pretty good thing to do. But it also, the Psycho Spark itself, will often hit the end of people's attacks. Like so. Which is pretty decent in its own right, and it sort of locks them down and forces them to have to block the... so long as you see that the Psycho Spark has like hit the edge of their limb or something, you basically get a free pass to throw the projectile. Because they won't be able to, they'll be forced to block and deal with it. Like so. So how Ed's buttons interact with other characters' buttons, I'll just go through Ryu's basic attacks, because Ryu has pretty much all the different types of buttons that you're ever going to run into in normal footsies. So Ryu's crouching medium punch is a difficult button to deal with, but you can poke it out. And so long as you're close enough, like within this range, you can connect your medium kick to your Psycho upper. So as long as you're playing in this range and poking with this, you will be able to buffer it, but only when you're very, very close to the opponent. Any farther than that, and it's not going to work. You can also beat out this move with the standing hard punch, which is one of your main go-to options for getting a knockdown like that. You can fight with your own crouching medium punch, but you won't be able to cancel it into anything. And you can always check with the Psycho Spark to see if it's going to hit their limbs. One thing that you can cancel moves into, even if they won't make contact with the opponent, is you can cancel them into the Psycho Spark, because the Psycho Spark remains really active even after the, even if it's not making contact with the opponent. And you can always, leave it, with just the Psycho Spark, or you can choose to cancel it into the actual projectile itself, which will usually, catch the opponent if they're pressing anything. And like I said, the standing hard kick will go over low attacks, but you can also compete with your own crouching medium kick and your standing hard punch. The Psycho Spark itself will never be able to hit low attacks like this, but the projectile will. So those are Ed's normal mid-range options. That's how he mainly plays neutral. But he also has some other options once the opponent is really sticking to the ground game, because the opponent will usually have the upper hand in the ground game, just by the fact that Ed's attacks will generally not give him as much reward as the opponent's attacks when the opponent's attacks land when you're playing footsies. However, Ed has two moves that sort of circumvent footsies. So if your opponent is throwing out moves that, just throwing out a bunch of moves or anything, and Ed's having some tough time dealing with them, although Ed doesn't really struggle that much due to, he does have a really good standing hard punch, and but he has one move that has more priority than anything else, and that's while he's playing footsies, if his opponent is particularly button heavy and is pressing a lot of stuff, he can do not only can he throw out his heavy punch just in neutral, he can also charge it and then release it a few seconds later, which helps him greatly change up the timing and catch counter hits like that. But if he charges it all the way up and the opponent's pressing tons of buttons, it will automatically just sort of beat out anything that the opponent's doing. As you can see, he was doing the medium kick, but the Psycho Knuckle just blows straight through it and grants Ed a knockdown. So it is minus on block, so if the opponent is not particularly button heavy, and you don't think that this is going to necessarily land, it's risky to do, because it's -2, and you're basically giving the opponent a free turn afterwards, if they're blocking it. But if the opponent is really focused on pressing a lot of buttons to keep Ed out or anything, and stuff his forward dashes or anything that else that he could be doing in neutral, you can catch pretty much any limbs that they might be throwing out with the Psycho Knuckle, and you'll automatically get a big combo from it. This is also another tool that Ed has in terms of neutral in controlling where he is on the screen. So Ed, it depends on how you want to play Ed, but because Ed has really good jumping attacks, and he doesn't have the best ways of getting in regular footsies like this, a lot of Eds tend to jump a lot, which will leave you prone to side switching with the opponent a lot, especially if the opponent moves forward or forward dashes when you jump at them. However, Ed has good ways of controlling his own position on the screen and getting out of the corner, especially. His Psycho Knuckle, even on block, will automatically side switch with the opponent, and even though he is -2, it will at least get him out of the corner if he wants to. Ed also has a V reversal that will escape the corner as well by side switching. So Ed can control his space really pretty well, and which is good because Ed's ability to play in the corner is significantly better than his ability to play in mid-screen. And his last tool for playing in neutral for people that are not very jump happy and are not pressing a lot of buttons is his other tool that sort of circumvents normal footsies, which is his V skill. The uncharged V skill is not particularly useful. You will occasionally see it, especially if you're trying to bait the opponent into doing something when you do the full charge, because they can technically react to it. You doing the fully charged version to pull them closer and say like jump over it or something. But if you've already got them like stuck, mesmerized, not doing anything, not only does that give you the opportunity to forward dash in more and start getting in, but you can also in the midst of all the things that you might be doing in neutral, you can throw the fully charged V skill in there a couple of times, and if the opponent's blocking, or if the opponent's just not going into the air, if they're not jumping, then this will usually work out just fine. And you can do the uncharged one very rarely. It's minus on block. It's only -2, so it's technically safe, and it's not particularly rewarding on hit. But the fully charged version reaches very, very far away, and we'll pull them in on block or on hit from pretty much any distance, and is +3 on block, which gives Ed automatically the ability to do a lot of stuff. And in a similar situation, if he happens to hit their limbs with it, it pulls them all the way in, and he can get a variety of combos off of it. So that pretty much covers Ed's basic neutral game, outside of his V-triggers. But now I guess those are his main tools for getting in on the opponent. But now let's talk about his combos, his basic combos, and what he can do once he's already in. So I'll just run through first his normal combos, like his bread and butter combos, and then the variations on those. So you can do the standing medium punch into crouching heavy punch from point blank, and you can do that into the up kicks, Psycho Rising, into that. That's your basic meterless combo in mid-screen. Usually if you land this, it's worth spending the extra bar meter so that you can get that into the crouching V skill, get more, a lot more damage in corner carry. It's just significantly better. And if you want to spend 2 bars, you can do it into a Psycho Upper for a bit more damage and stun. You can also do the standing medium punch into crouching heavy punch into the Psycho Upper if you want to confirm into super. From further away, so not like immediately point blank, so say like jab into standing medium punch, you will no longer be in range for the crouching hard punch. So jab, medium punch, crouching medium kick will be your crouching, standing medium punch to crouching medium kick will be your most reliable combo that you'll get when you're pretty close to the opponent. Say if you're not quite point blank, crouching heavy punch won't always work. So you can only do that in situations where you're guaranteed to hit, like if you get a really close jump in. But most of the time you'll be going for standing medium punch into crouching medium kick into Psycho Upper. Okay, other than that, he has his light combos. I'll have to change my button settings to be able to do this, because the way my button layout is for playing Falk, there's no way I can do piano inputs. So, let's put it back to type A. So there we go. You have your standing light kick, which is Ed's fastest attack, into standing light punch into the Psycho Flicker. You have a crouching light kick into crouching light punch into the Psycho Flicker. You have if you're guaranteed to get a standing light punch, you really close to the opponent, you can do standing light punch into the Psycho Upper, which you can do into the meterless version or the 1-bar version. And for the most part, those are mainly his default combos that he'll get if you just landing hits. If you're pressuring the opponent and you're getting counter hits, or if you catch counter hits in mid-screen, his counter hit confirms are if you're point blank, standing light punch, standing medium punch, crouching medium kick, Psycho Upper, like so. He also has from slightly farther away, standing light punch, crouching medium punch, Psycho Upper. You have to be very, very confident about your distancing on this one, because this far away the Psycho Upper will whiff. The crouching medium punch is usually very bad for canceling into the Psycho Upper, so you have to make sure that you're pretty close, like this close. There's also counter hit standing medium. So at a certain range, standing medium punch will no longer connect into crouching medium kick, like so. However, you can do standing medium punch into standing heavy punch from really far away, not max distance, but yeah. But the only reason you would do this on counter hit is so you can combo into super, which you're not allowed to special cancel standing heavy punch, but you can super cancel it. And usually if you catch a counter hit from standing medium punch this far out and you see it, then you confirm into, you immediately do a crouching hard kick for a knockdown. There's also, if you're point blank, crouching medium punch, counter hit confirm into Psycho Upper. Crouching medium punch can confirm from pretty far away into standing medium kick, and this is useful because standing medium kick is your best way to combo into your V-trigger 1. So if you're pretty close for that, you can do your V-trigger 1 combos and such. Because the problem with most of Ed's other attacks is that they don't once you hit the opponent like a few times, the orb will be too far away when it's canceled, and it won't combo off of whatever you're canceling it from. But it'll usually combo off of medium kick. When it cancels into medium kick, Ed moves forward, whereas off of most of this stuff, Ed moves slightly backwards. You can see by his feet. Now for crush counter combos, he can't really combo anything off of his crush counter standing heavy punch except for V-trigger, which he can do in the corner. And after that, he has crush counter crouching hard punch, and because it launches the opponent into the air, there's like an essentially infinite number of things you can do off of this, but most of the time you can go for the basic combos. If you catch a crush counter with this, you can do jumping medium punch into the crouching V-scale. So you want to do the jumping medium punch as late as possible where it'll still hit, and then do the crouching medium punch and crouching V-scale as soon as you land, and then that'll usually combo cleanly. You can also do that. You can do... So most of the time when your opponent's blocking, the reason why you'll catch this counter hit is because crouching hard punch is -5 on block, it's punishable, but Psycho Spark is only -2 on block, so you'll be canceling, a lot of the time, say you'll be doing like standing light punch crouching hard punch into the Psycho Spark on block, just because it's like it's safe on block. If you cancel the Psycho Spark into the EX projectile, you're plus on block, and you can continue your pressure like so. But yeah, you'll often be canceling it into the Psycho Spark because the Psycho Spark is only -2, so it's completely safe, and you have the option to cancel it into the projectile, which can catch counter hits. So if the opponent isn't respecting it, you can release the projectile as late as possible and catch them pressing buttons. Unfortunately, you can only combo off of this in the corner, which is why it's mainly done in the corner. But yeah, you're usually going to be doing crouching. If you're going to be doing crouching hard punch into anything on block, which most Ed players will usually do because it's a good strategy, and you catch the counter hit by chance, you'll often be canceling it straight into the Psycho Spark anyways, which is why most of the setups that you can do afterwards involve doing the Psycho Spark like that first, and then doing something else afterwards. You can choose to side switch, obviously, with, another thing that you can do is you can hit them out of the air with something, and then it will force them to reset, which you can then do a forward dash and end up either on the other side or the same side. You can do a lot of visually tricky stuff like this, like you can do a forward dash into a side switch and then reset them with a light punch and then do another side switch. And it's difficult for the opponent to keep up with it if they're not familiar with the setups. But another side switch combo you can do is you can do the crouching heavy punch counter hit straight into the Psycho Knuckle, into the Psycho Flicker. And after that, he has his crush counter standing hard kick, which depending on the range, this is your default crush counter punish. So if you're point blank, you can do the crush counter hard kick and walk forward into a crouching hard punch. Like so. But if you're a bit farther away, you can forward dash into a standing light punch into the Psycho Rising. And those are his default non-V-trigger combos. So now let's talk about his corner combos. So Ed works really, really well in the corner. His pressure gets way better because projectiles, when you hit the opponent with projectiles, so whenever you hit the opponent, make contact with the opponent, you always get pushed apart, except for this move, which is why this move is really unique, which pulls you closer. But there's always more distance when you connect with the opponent. It pushes you back and it pushes the opponent back. And that distance is pretty much the same in the corner, it just pushes you out. Whereas when you hit with projectiles, you don't really move. When the opponent blocks a projectile, they get pushed back. But this is different because in the corner, they have nowhere to move. So the distance that you get from the opponent in the corner when you hit them with projectiles or they block projectiles is different than when they're in mid-screen, which means that characters that have projectiles that can be used in pressure or combos usually get way better when they're in the corner. So your crouching heavy punch into projectile becomes way scarier because that becomes a frame trap. Because that becomes a frame trap that he can actually combo off of like that. and he can always do the projectile into the EX projectile and stay plus on block, and the opponent doesn't get pushed anywhere like they do in mid-screen, where this distance is created between them. Whereas in the corner, there's no distance created, and you stay right there, and you're really plus. So yeah, his corner combos for non-counter hit first. So his big combo, like the biggest combo he can do without V-trigger, is his anything. You have to be point blank for this to work, or just off of a jumping attack. Standing medium punch into crouching medium standing medium punch, crouching heavy punch into the Psycho Spark into the projectile. Low medium kick into Psycho Upper. And then you can cancel that into Super. So the reason why this works is because the projectile is actually pretty good on hit. Whereas like Ryu's projectile I think is like -2 on hit if it hits point blank. Ed's is +4. Which means that you can combo off of it with Light Punch. So you can do stuff like that, where if you're comboing off the projectile, you can do Light Punch into Psycho Flicker to combo off of it if you're point blank. Like so. But you can also do from a certain distance away, which is set up exactly by doing standing medium punch into crouching heavy punch. The further away it is, the projectile will be more plus on hit, because it's hitting later. So from this range, he can combo off of it with, at this range he's like +11 or 12, he can combo off of his projectile on hit with standing heavy punch. From this range, he can combo off of it with, this range where the projectile will be +8 or +9, he will be able to combo off of it with the crouching medium kick. So that distance is perfectly created by this combo, which means that you'll be exactly +8 after that projectile hits, which means that you'll be able to combo into the crouching medium kick, into the Psycho Upper. And if you learn the exact distancing, you'll be able to do that without needing to do a specific setup for it. You'll be able to tell that at this distance, if you hit him with the projectile, you'll be able to combo off of it with crouching medium kick. So that's his big corner combo. His counter hit corner combos. His standing hard kick gets better because he stays a bit closer to the opponent, which means that he can do like that, because you can set up the proper distancing for the crouching hard punch again to be able to link it into the crouching medium kick after the projectile. He also gets off of the crouching heavy punch into the that he gets that and that, which he can of course cancel into Super. But there's another thing that he can do in the corner. There's a mix-up that he can do in the corner. Well, when you're in mid-screen and you hit them with I completely forgot to talk about his combos off of this and this. Okay. So his default combo off of this is the meterless version is just that. straight into the kicks, into the punch. That's the meterless version, or for distance, you can do that to stay close to the opponent. But you can also do the V skill into the Psycho Spark, into the EX projectile, forward dash, and then do the crouching V skill. So the trick to doing this is, because if you just do it like this, you're not, it'll whiff sometimes. So the trick to doing this is that you have to be pretty close to the opponent when you do. It doesn't matter exactly when you hit them with it, but you have to be pretty close to them when you do the Psycho Spark. So that, so when you hit them with it, you walk forwards, make sure you're really close when you do the Psycho Spark, and then the combo should work fine. Like so, rather than immediately doing the Psycho Spark from back here. And if you want to side switch with the opponent, you can also do it into the EX projectile, into the Psycho Knuckle. And if you want to, you can just hit them with attacks and then reset them. So, like, go for a cross-up like that. And if you want to do absolute max damage for no meter, you can do this V skill into the latest possible jumping medium punch into the crouching V skill. Like so. And off of the Psycho Knuckle, it depends on the spacing, but sometimes you'll be plus enough to be able to do the standing medium punch without them. So as soon as they fall to their knees, they're considered... Once they're in this crumple state, they're still standing until they fall to their knees, and then they're considered airborne. So if you hit them once they're airborne, it'll air reset them, whereas if you hit them immediately, they'll still be standing. So you'll just hit them regularly. So this is pretty inconsistent. In how it works, like what frames you'll be at, it's pretty difficult to tell. But if you're really close like this when you get the hit, you'll usually be better off. So then you can do standing medium punch, crouching medium kick into the Psycho Upper. When you're farther away, you'll usually be air resetting them when you hit them, like so. And at certain distances, like around here, you'll still be plus enough that they won't get air reset, but you'll still be far enough away that you'll get the after the standing medium punch, you'll get the crouching heavy punch, which you won't be able to do if you're doing it point blank, because you'll move too far past them. And the combo that works no matter which distance you're at, most reliably, is just doing anything into the up kicks, into that, or doing anything into the projectile. So pretty much exactly the same combos that you would get previously, except, yeah, just like that. So once again, note that if you're hitting the Psycho Knuckle from really close, you'll be farther away, which means that you need to move forward a little bit closer to your opponent before you do the projectile in order for the V-skill combo to work, because if you do it straight out like this, it'll whiff. So make sure that if you're hitting them really close, you walk forwards first before you do the combo. So in the corner, the Psycho Knuckle combos don't change because you're not going to be... you're never going to be, like, if you do it from this side, you're never going to be close enough for it to you actually make use of any of the corner-specific stuff. And if you're doing it from here, then you're no longer in the corner. So, but the V-skill combos, say if you get the stun on the opponent, then you can do some reset with the fully charged V-skill, which means that you can do this into the standing medium punch, and then you can if you hit it with the medium punch from pretty high up, like this, you can walk forwards before you do the medium punch just slightly, and then you can keep walking forwards. And you can get to the other side if you practice it. Yeah, there you go. Or you can stay on the same side. Like so, which will allow you to immediately get the enhanced combos of the corner. And then, beyond that, you can also do... okay, so now I have to explain something about the projectile again. So, when you actually throw the projectile itself, the projectile's hitbox actually starts, like... It doesn't start where the Psycho Spark is happening. The hitbox of the projectile actually starts within Ed's body. And the reason... this creates some goofy situations in which, if the opponent somehow gets behind you at the same instant that you release the projectile, it will still hit them. Which means that you can set up situations where you can do air reset them with something and then cancel into the projectile. And then you can release it, but he still got hit, even though I was throwing it in the wrong direction. Now the benefit of this is that the projectile is +4 on hit, which allows you to combo off of it with Light Punch. But at this range that they're going to be pushed away from, you can't combo the Light Punch into the Psycho Rising. It's just too far away. You can only combo it into the Psycho Upper. I mean, the Flicker. However, if you hit them backwards... If you hit them backwards with the projectile, you'll still be +4. However, they'll get pushed in the wrong direction. They'll actually get pushed closer to you, which means that you'll immediately be able to combo off of it with a Light Punch into the Psycho Rising. So if you stay on the same side like that, you can combo off of it with Jab into Psycho Flicker. But if you go to the other side like that, you can combo off of it with that. So that is a really good cross-up mix-up that he can get, and he can do that off of the point-blank V skill, or he can do that off of Crush Counter Heavy Punch whenever he lands that. Now let's talk about Ed's pressure. So once you find a way to get into the opponent, whether it's they block a jump in, you get a forward dash in, something, or you knock them down with a hit confirm or whatever, and you get in, then you need to start applying pressure. So your default block strings that you can do to catch the opponent trying to hit buttons or catch the opponent not blocking is standing medium punch into well, okay, your different ways that it can work are standing light punch, standing medium punch, crouching medium kick. That's one default one. Standing light punch is +3 on block, crouching light punch is +3 on block. Standing light kick, which is your fastest attack, is only +1 on block, but you can rapid cancel that into standing light punch, so it doesn't matter. So you can do, and crouching light kick is 0 on block, but you can rapid cancel that into crouching light punch, so that doesn't matter. Both of those strings you want to end with like crouching medium kick or medium punch or something. Or hard punch, you know, whatever. You won't be able to get much after that afterwards. Anyways, so yeah, if you do, say, standing medium punch, and you catch him, so if you do standing medium punch, you have plenty of time to react and see whether or not that hit, and if it did hit, you can cancel that straight into either crouching hard punch or crouching medium kick. But if you see that it didn't hit, you can, I gotta switch my buttons back, I'm not used to it being like this anymore. But if you see that it didn't hit on the first hit, you can do another medium punch. And if you see that that one counter hits, you're not close enough to do crouching medium kick anymore, but you can still knock down with a crouching hard kick. Only on counter hit, though. You can, of course, do a number of things into crouching heavy punch. Standing light punch, crouching heavy punch into the Psycho Spark. Crouching heavy punch, Psycho Spark, so long as you're close enough, is a really good block string to go for. And you can often do things into the Psycho Spark even if it's not going to connect, because it's pretty safe to do so, because if they attack into the Psycho Spark, they'll get hit. But only if you... you should make a habit, if you're going to be doing that, of canceling the Psycho Spark from the normal as late as possible, not doing it immediately like that, so that it'll be active for a little bit longer and hit them if they try to press buttons into it. Or do it really fast if you want to frame trap them with standing medium kick is also technically plus on block, but there's no good block strings to do this with. It just helps it out as a poke, that you can do that and then go into another thing, and because it's plus on block. But there's not really great ways to use this in block strings. You can combo off of it, but it pushes them too far back for you to combo off with anything decent. And of course, the fully charged V skill is plus 3 on block. So another good block string to go for is crouching medium punch, crouching medium punch. Crouching medium punch itself is plus 2 on block, and crouching medium punch is, I believe, 7 frame startup, so it's not a legit block string, but you can do it into crouching medium punch, standing medium punch instead, and that will be a block string against 4 frame attacks. And that'll still be close enough for you to get the crouching medium kick, because crouching medium punch has less push block than a standing medium punch. So that's a good combo to go for, or that's a good frame trap to go for. And crouching medium punch on hit. If you see it's on hit, you can also do on counter hit, it'll link into, you can do it into, the combo will work on counter hit too. So crouching medium punch on counter hit, standing medium punch, crouching medium punch, or crouching medium kick into Psycho Upper will work on counter hit. But from further away, you can also do crouching medium punch into Psycho Upper from a little bit further away. And if it just hits regularly, you can get standing light punch into the crouching medium punch into standing light punch into Psycho Flicker. So that's pretty much the most of it. I mean, when you're pressuring with the opponent, if you want to do non-legitimate frame traps and like walk forwards in between your strikes and anything like that, your best option is usually, if you're point blank, to go for standing medium punch, and then you can confirm that into crouching hard punch, or any range really that you're in, like this range. If you check them with standing medium punch, you can combo off that with crouching medium kick into Psycho Upper. If you want a faster button, and you're about this close, you can do, if you're point blank, you can do standing light punch, crouch, standing medium punch, and then if you hit confirm that on counter hit, you can then combo off that with crouching medium kick. So if you're doing, if you're checking it from about this low, this far away, if you're walking forward, you can check them with a standing light punch, crouching medium punch, and if it counter hits, you can confirm it if you're that close into the psycho upper. And from any farther away, you can do standing medium punch, and if you see that it caught a counter hit, you can combo into the crouching hard kick. Or if you have super, you can combo into the standing hard punch into super. So make sure that you practice, you put counter hit on random, possibly even block on random. And make sure that you can counter hit confirm that. Like so. So yeah, put those on random so that you can practice hit confirming, so that you don't have to be doing anything that's unsafe or minus on block. You can just do the one action and then go from there. And one more thing about being plus on block is that one of the other tactics you can go for is, like I already talked about, checking the opponent or doing a crouching hard punch into the Psycho Spark, especially in the corner, and you can cancel the Psycho Spark into the EX projectile to be plus on block. If you happen to get the hit, you can cancel it into the EX projectile, or you can just leave it as the Psycho Spark on block. You can frame trap it by doing canceling as late as possible into the projectile, like so, which will catch them pressing buttons. And if they're not taking their turn, you can just keep checking them with that into other things. And yeah, canceling as late as possible into the EX projectile will also create a frame trap that will knock them down even at mid-screen, and it's plus on block. So that's a good option to go for. But yeah, so because this is plus on block, the mix-up that I talked about before that you can get off of the V skill, the fully charged V skill once you get the stun, or the crush counter crouching hard punch, where you can get to the other side like that, is punishable if they guess correctly and you go to the other side. So if you're going to the other side, if you want to go to the other side and you want to make sure that it's not punishable if they guess right, you can do the EX projectile instead, and it'll still hit. The only way you can combo off of that in that situation is if you do either V-trigger, or if you do EX Psycho Upper. But it will be plus on block, unlike the default version, which will be -4 if they block it. So yeah, now let's talk about his V-triggers for a little bit. His V-trigger one has, I'll just talk about the very most basic combos that you can do, because there's tons of really, really difficult to do combos and situational combos and all sorts of stuff that you can do with this. But the basic way that you can structure it is you can throw it out like this, just by pressing the V-trigger button. You can throw out a fast version, and you can throw out a, so basically, what you want to be confirming into this is a standing medium kick or crouching hard punch is the buttons that you want to be doing into this. So when you have V-trigger available, a good action to do is just to buffer standing medium kick into the V-trigger. I'll demonstrate how that interacts with, say, like one of Rhee's buttons. So if you're throwing it out like this, canceling it into V-trigger, when you're about this close, you can do. So this is the reason. Most times you want to do the slow version because it stays on screen the longer. And it pushes them forward slower, and it lets you just get away with more stuff. And you can sort of keep harassing them if they're like blocking it or anything like that. Once you want to sort of move in tandem. You want to move in front of or behind. Yeah, you want to move, if you are worried that they're going to jump out, you want to move behind it like this so that if they jump over it, you can knock them out of the air or knock them back into it. But another thing is that a benefit of moving in front of it is that they can't really hit you, because if they try to strike you, they'll hit the orb itself, and then they'll get hit and knocked into the air. So that is one strategy that you can go for. And then every time they sort of block it, you want to continue to forward dash and push them. And then if you set up really good sequences and stuff like that, you can manage to push them really far across the screen, like corner to corner sometimes. That's, yeah, so most of the time you want to use the slow version. However, if you're already confirming it into a combo, you want to do, the slow version will work in most cases. But, one thing that you can do is that if, like, if you're buffering, say, medium kick into it, trying to hit, like, the opponent's buttons or something, like so, you, if you do it and cancel it into the slow one, they'll be able to block in time if you're doing it about this range. But if you do it into the fast one, it'll combo because it'll reach them sooner. Which is exactly what you want. In terms of combos that you can do with the V-trigger one, so the basic way it works is that the projectile hits 5 times, and the first 3 hits keep them on the ground. The second 2 hits, I believe this is correct. Yeah. The last 2 hits will knock them into the air. Yeah, like so. So if they get hit, say, like, by 3 hits of it, the next one will knock them into the air, and as will the 5th one. Which means that you can technically go for really big combos, like... so yeah, you can, if you time it really specifically, I forget all of the combos and the timings, but you can do really extended combos by setting it up and then pushing him out, and then hitting him with more buttons on the ground. And then continuing to move him across the screen. Like so. So you can sometimes get like 2 entire forward dashes into more buttons and extra damage before he gets launched into the air. But in terms of simplicity and the ease of use, the most basic combos you can go for are hitting him and then into... comboing into it, and then going for like the fully charged V skill. You can do the jumping medium punch into the fully charged V skill, and depending on where you hit it, he'll either stay on the same side or switch to the other side when you do this. And you can combo off of that in that situation with the EX Psycho Upper. But if you do it off of If you don't do the jumping medium punch and you just do the fully charged crouching V skill like that, you can combo off of it with a regular Psycho Upper. Which allows you to combo into Super. You can also combo into this V trigger from a variety of situations that you wouldn't be able to combo off of otherwise. Like if you get the EX projectile, you can combo off that with a EX Psycho Upper, or you can combo off that with V trigger. You won't be able to get that much off of it though, because a lot of the juggle points have already been spent, so you won't be able to get any of that. The only thing you'll be able to combo off of after that point is an EX Psycho Upper. You can do that. Psycho Knuckle into the V trigger. You can do the V skill. And there's a variety of situations, but mainly just need to learn the juggle points and what combos you can get off of what. As for Ed's V-Trigger 2, it's really good. It allows him to cancel not only off of normals, but off of specials as well. So, canceling into it, you can only do it off of normals, so the best ones to go for are like, standing hard kick into it is really good because it's always plus on block. And crouching hard kick is always plus on block. And once you're inside of it, then you get the ability to do these 3 enhanced Psycho Snatchers. So there's the standing one and the crouching one. Crouching one is mainly for extending combos or getting a little bit more damage out of your combos, so you can basically do, but the standing one is the one that you just throw it out, and then if it hits, or it on block, it's plus on block, so you can do it, and then you're +2 on block, and then you can continue to harass. So it's really strong because you can do, say, like, you can Psycho Knuckle in from, like, really far away, and then cancel the Psycho Knuckle into that, and then you can still be plus on block. I believe there's certain gaps in some of the strings. But, it's still a really good trigger. Yeah, I believe the most, so that's one of the best uses. Canceling it from the projectiles is a really good use, and then you're always going to be plus on block, so you always get to continue to do more actions afterwards. And so that's the main use of it, and then on hit, you can do, if it lands on hit, like say you just land like anything into the projectiles, you can combo off of it, and the default option that you're always going to be able to get is crouching medium punch into the Psycho Upper. That's always going to be your go-to. So this also, each use of this allows you to really extend your combos, because it basically lets you massively link your combos and then drastically increase the damage, stun, and corner carry that you get with just one use of the Psycho Snatcher. That's the grounded Psycho Snatcher. The anti-air Psycho Snatcher is what you can use to combo off of, say, the Psycho Upper. You can pull them back, and it's not as valuable, per se, like it's not as worth going for and spending the one of your 3 uses of the enhanced Psycho Snatcher, because it doesn't do anywhere near as much damage as being able to fully extend one of your combos with the grounded one. It only adds a little bit of damage at the end. But sometimes that's all you need. And unique about that is it also lets you combo off of his EX Psycho Schneide. God, Falk. EX Psycho Upper. So in terms of Ed's other tools, just quick going over the things that I wasn't already talking about. In terms of Ed's other tools, his ability to deal with fireball characters or anything like that. His Psycho Spark will eliminate one hit of a fireball, and then you can throw it again to throw your own fireball, which means that Ed can usually do really well against regular fireball characters. The EX1 hits twice, which means that it will go through even more fireballs, so he can do that pretty well. His up kicks, his Psycho Rising, is completely projectile invincible, which allows him to break out of a lot of setups that some characters can go for using projectiles. And his EX Psycho Upper is, of course, his reversal. Extremely punishable on block and on whiff. Very dangerous move to go for, but it will have invincibility to go through other people's attacks. And sometimes you can use it as a throw bait, although I wouldn't do it that often, except for in specific matchups. And that should be pretty much it.